everybody, how's it going? And welcome back to Copper Jacket TV. So some of you might have tuned in to the first video that I did on the WOOX Furiosa chassis. That's the chassis that you're looking at right here. Now in that first video, it was more like a first look, first impressions type video where we were able to dive deep into the WOOX chassis before it had a barreled action installed. So we talked about the technical aspects, a lot of the details, the origins of the WOOX chassis and so forth, but it wasn't really a review. Since then, I've dropped in a Savage 110, chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor with a 24-inch barrel, and we've taken this thing out to just under 1,000 yards, and I've had actually quite a bit of time behind it, where I feel like I can give you guys my full review on the WOOX chassis versus what this thing came in originally with the original stock, and talk about more of how this thing actually works in the field and whether or not I felt like there was a gain in accuracy or any type of improvement. So today we've got our full review on the WOOX Furiosa chassis. Let's check it out. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the WOOX Furiosa chassis, and we'll start off with what makes this thing different, because I own quite a few chassis, but nothing like this WOOX chassis. I know this is going to kind of come off like a catchphrase, but I don't use scripts on this channel. This is just how it really feels to me. It's a perfect combination of new world technology and old world feel. So what we have here is a solid aircraft grade aluminum chassis. So your action is going to bed directly into that metal. It's going to give you that strength and that rigidity for those repeatable shots. And when you're talking about long range, you definitely want those repeatable shots. Even slight movements will throw you off quite a bit. So I love that it's a really solid platform for your action to bed into. Now that solid aluminum is going to go all the way forward into the handguard, but surrounding that is American walnut, and it gives you that really nice feel. It's kind of a warm feel versus, you know, plastic or cold metal, so you get that nice warm feel of the wood, but it's been machined very well as well. We have these aluminum inserts in that walnut, and those are M-lock slots at the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock position, so you can add, you know, whatever accessories you want. You can add the Picatinny sections, you can add things that will mount directly to that M-lock, bipods, you know, monopods, this bullet holder that we have right here, and that same wood feature is going to be found on the grip, which has an incredible angle. I love the angle of this grip. It's very comfortable. It's done very well, and then also the comb of the stock is going to be wood as well. So all of those contact points that you have with your hands, you know, the forend, the grip, and the comb are all going to be wood. Everything else is made out of that aircraft grade aluminum, adding to the chassis rigidity. So like I said in the beginning, it's just a good combination, an excellent combination of that new world technology and old world feel. Now the WOOX chassis is a drop-in system, so it's going to work directly with your action. You simply take it out of the original stock, you drop it into the WOOX chassis, you attach the screws to the proper torque specs, and that's it. You're good to go. And in a lot of cases, just doing that is going to give you a significant increase in accuracy, and I can attest to that as well. Now, this was a Savage 110 Hunter, and if we take a look at the Savage 110 Hunter stock, which is actually a pretty nice stock, it's adjustable for length of pull. The comb doesn't move at all, and there's no attachments to rise that comb up unless you were to buy something, you know, like a foam piece to help your cheek be lifted a little bit. It doesn't rise at all, but this is a polymer stock. Now it's a synthetic polymer, obviously. It's going to be a little bit more rigid than your just, you know, standard plastic, but you're bedding directly into plastic. There is nothing here, nothing in this original stock at all that's going to give it the same type of rigidity that you're going to get out of a metal chassis like this. So just moving from that plastic OEM stock to this metal chassis, it's going to improve your accuracy, but it's also going to improve that repeatability, because this stock, like it or not, is going to flex a bit when you shoot, and that's going to affect your repeatability. So you might have that one shot, or that follow-up shot that's good, but then you're wondering why you threw that third or fourth shot. Well, it's because of the flex that you're going to get from a lot of these OEM stocks. You're not going to get that flex out of a solid metal chassis like this. Now, another big improvement over most OEM stocks is going to be the ease of adjustability, and in some cases just the adjustability itself. I mean, this thing right here, I can adjust this for length of pull, but I got to get some tools out and screwdrivers, and I got to find the pieces that came with it and add or remove parts and then put everything back together just to change the length of pull. And again, there is no adjustability for the comb whatsoever. On the WOOX chassis, all I have to do is just turn these screws right here, push in a little button, pull this thing up, pops right up, and I can set myself up so that I am perfectly aligned with my optic. I let go of that little button and I'm set. Every single time I put my cheek on this, I know that my cheek well is perfectly aligned with my optic, and so I like that when it comes to repeatability as well. And when it comes to length of pull, again, it's just another button. I push that button, I can push in and shorten the overall length of pull. I can push that button in and pull out and extend that length of pull. It just takes a matter of seconds to do so. There's no tools required or nothing like that. It's adjustability on the fly, and when it's locked in, it's locked in. So again, my length of pull, my height on my comb, everything is set up exactly how I want it, to where I'm not putting my cheek on it and I'm searching for the right spot behind my optic. Again, I like the fact that I can adjust everything as quickly as I want. And another cool thing is, when you're out there and you need that extra stability and you're looking for, whatever advantage you can get, obviously I have a bipod on the front right here, but if I want to lift this thing up and maybe I don't have a bag with me or anything that's really stable, they have a Picatinny rail at the bottom of the stock back here where I can add a monopod so that I can use that to give myself an even more stable platform. Now, instead of that being M-LOK, that is going to be a full pick rail at the bottom of that aluminum stock. Now, 6.5 Creedmoor doesn't have that much recoil, especially when you're talking about a 24-inch barrel and there's a lot of weight out front. It doesn't have a ton of recoil, but this thing has a really soft pad on it so that it absorbs a lot of that recoil that does translate into your shoulder. So it gives you that really nice, comfortable piece in the back right there, where it's not like that kind of hard plastic that you might get on some other chassis systems or even on the original stocks, which I think is nice as well. So I like the fact that you don't have to be an armor to put this thing together. It's as simple as just 2 screws switching that over. Use the original magazine. This is the original magazine that came with it. This is just a 4-round magazine that came with it. But they do sell these adapters that you can use that will allow you to use box magazines that can hold a little bit more. So there's some extra things you can do if you want to add a little bit more to this and kind of change some things up. But I love this stock. I mean, I had such a good time with it shooting. We were out to about 880 yards is where we felt comfortable at the place that we went out each time. And 880 yards, I was able to ring steel on this time and time again. And we were just using like a standard IPSC target, standard steel target, nothing fancy. It wasn't a very big target. I know that, once you get out past 800 yards, people tend to use like bigger gongs and stuff. But we were just using a man-sized target. And we were able to ring steel on that thing all day. We were using mats, so we were prone. We were using the bipod. We were using tripods and locking this thing down in tripods. And no matter what we did, if this thing was on, it was on. This thing is an absolute tack driver, and a lot of that is attributed to the chassis itself. Again, I love Savage rifles. They are extremely accurate, especially when you add that Accu trigger right there. It's very light, it's very adjustable, it's very easy to get those repeatable shots. But then when you're kind of holding yourself back when you leave it in that original stock, because you're handicapping yourself by that flex. And all we did is we really took some of that handicap out when we replaced it with the WOOX stock. But again, it's just such a nice design with that wood and all the different textures and features that you have on here. There's really nothing left out. If I was to design a chassis There is nothing that I would add to this to make it any different. To me, this is exactly perfect just the way it is. And sometimes that's really hard to say. There's some other chassis that I have where I would make some tweaks and some changes here and there. But with this chassis, I don't feel that way at all. Now, obviously, a chassis is going to be an investment, right? You have your original investment, and now you're going to invest in something else. But the cool thing about this is that this is not something that's necessarily new. They have a long-standing history and tradition that dates back to the 1800s in Italy of fine woodworking that has moved its way to the US. And so now we have these US components and US materials that are made from craftsmen that actually really care about everything that they put out. I have watched 100 videos and behind the scenes and factory tours of everything that these guys do to put together a quality component. And it's not just a machine running, 24 hours a day and, products just going out the door. Every single one is inspected and QR controlled so that when you get it, you know that you're getting something that somebody's had hands-on with, and it's going to be something that's quality. A lot of times that's where the extra expense comes in. If people just rush things out, they're able to get it out in mass. It's not going to be as much, right? But when you have something where the process is slowed down and cared for a little bit more, it tends to be a little bit more. And that's kind of what we have here, is a really kind of hands-on individual approach with each one of these. And I absolutely love it. Now, if you guys want to dive into the technical aspects and get a little bit more deep into the history of the WOOX chassis and see actually what is underneath the action itself, I will put a link to the original video down below. You guys can watch that and kind of use this as a two-parter. But I wanted to share this with you, my full review of the WOOX Furiosa chassis. I want to thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, and you guys have a great day.